そう Good morning. I call to order the fifth plenary meeting of the fifth third session of the Industrial Development Board. As Vice President of the Board, and in the absence of the President, I have the honor to chair this plenary meeting. Before we begin, I wish to remind you that the second meeting of the informal consultations will start at 12:30 p.m. in conference room C3 on the 7th floor to consider the outstanding draft decision under agenda item 11, inclusive and sustainable development in the middle income countries. As we now return to our consideration of agenda items, allow me to kindly remind delegations to limit your interventions to a maximum of 5 minutes for groups and 3 minutes for member states and other. The Adaptation Fund. Egypt welcomes the new partnerships of UNIDO and some funding entities like the Green Climate Fund and Adaptation Fund, and in this regard invites UNIDO, while implementing the action plan, to use these new funding channels to raise more financial support to African countries. Egypt expresses its concern regarding the introduction of climate change-related trade restrictive measures, including border carbon taxes, which severely affect the smooth flow of industrial exports of developing countries. In this regard, Egypt emphasizes that the envisaged action plan shall highlight the needed programs and activities to be undertaken to support developing countries in addressing such measures. Egypt highly appreciates the ongoing cooperation with UNIDO in the field of circular economy. And I can see in the back the distinguished representatives of the division. We highly appreciate their work in the field of the cooperation with us in the field of circular economy. And the report IDB 53/18 highlights many ongoing projects in this regard, including global project switch to circular economy value chains to promote circular business models in electronics in Egypt, and the Global Economic Industrial Park program. With the support of UNIDO, plastic waste in Egypt is reduced by promoting eco-designed and circular business models and assisting in the creation of enabling policies, regulations, and economic tools. Egypt looks forward to enhance its partnership with UNIDO in promoting circular economy. Thank you. I now give the floor to, if there are no more speakers on this agenda item, I shall ask the Secretariat if it wishes to comment on the discussion held during the consideration of this item.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. I thank Excellencies, thank you, the dismissed delegates, for your attention, your engagement, your guidance, and your support in these vital areas of UNIDO's work, namely climate change and the circular economy. We have taken note of all the specific points raised, so we will undoubtedly come back to this in our future exchanges. I also would like to use this occasion to respond, by making 3 quick points. Firstly, so we fully agree on the point made by the distinguished Chinese representative on this. Climate change is not only an environment issue, it fundamentally is a development issue. So the solution less in collaboration. So we expect that the UNIDO's action plan on implementing its climate change strategy will serve as a kind of platform or mechanism to foster and promote collaboration and cooperation, say among or between North-South and South and North-South. Also with these technology providers, with the financing providers, being public and private. So we really support this idea that to use any occasion, opportunity to promote and this collaboration. Secondly, on action plan, I see the strong interest in, say, reviewing or providing further guidance on the development of the action plan. So we will discuss with the PMO that to find a proper mechanism to basically to meet this kind of request. I think this is important that to further get your guidance on this. I would like also to point out that the action plan, say, is designed to be a living document. So it will be regularly updated and enhanced through inputs from UNIDO's organization unit and feedback from member states. So this approach will allow the Secretariat to remain agile and responsive to the rapidly evolving landscape of climate technology and policy, as well as emerging priorities of member states. So this is basically, we will, prior to the GC, we will have anyway kind of opportunity to seek your also guidance on the drafting of the action plan. Lastly, about basically UNIDO's support to say member states to address the challenges of trade-related climate measures. So actually UNIDO is actively supporting member states in addressing these challenges, particularly through its global matchmaking platform for industrial decarbonization, launched under the Climate Club with support from Germany. We are working with countries like Brazil, Egypt, and Turkey to assess sectoral impact and design tailored technical assistance programs, including support for standards, MRV systems, and the policy instruments that help industries adapt while safeguarding competitiveness and advancing decarbonization. So these anyway measures will be included in the action plan. So with this, thank you again for your continuous support. Thank you.
I thank DDG Zhu for his intervention. Before moving to the next agenda item, I just want to say that the statements of the regional groups and the national statements that we listened today included a lot of ongoing projects between UNIDO and different member states, and also requests for enhancing and further strengthening the cooperation between UNIDO and the member states. And this is a testimony of confidence in the work of UNIDO. The second note that I noticed from the statements, especially from the development partners, their eagerness to continue working with UNIDO to enhance cooperation and using it as a platform for supporting developing countries. I think that this is another testimony for the excellent work of the organization, and we are looking forward for further enhancement of this cooperation. If there are no more speakers on this item, we will adjourn the debate on agenda item 10, and we will return to this item in the session solely for the purpose of adopting any decision. I now invite you to take up agenda item 11, inclusive and sustainable development in the middle income countries. The board has before it a report by the Director General contained in document IDB 53/20. I would like to remind all delegates that a draft decision has been tabled by Belarus under this agenda item and is being considered and informal consultations. I would like to invite the Secretary to provide a brief introduction to this item. I now give the floor to Ms. Fatou Haidara, Deputy to the Director General and Managing Director of the Directorate of Global Partnerships and External Relations. The floor is yours, Your Excellency.
Thank you very much, Mr. Vice President. I'm pleased to introduce the item on inclusive and sustainable industrial development in middle-income countries. This item reflects UNIDO's sustained commitment to supporting middle-income countries in navigating the complex path towards sustainable economic growth, digital transformation, and climate resilience. As of today, 104 UNIDO member states are classified as middle-income countries. Recognizing their diverse needs and unique challenges, the UNIDO strategic framework for partnering with middle-income countries, which was adopted by the General Conference in 2019, continues to guide our efforts. I would like to briefly highlight 5 key dimensions of progress: policy support, normative work, partnerships, technical cooperation, and development of knowledge and skills. On the first one, policy support. UNIDO has delivered a wide range of services to enhance technical, policy, and normative knowledge for sustainable industrial development. Notably, the 2024 Multilateral Industrial Policy Forum, organized in collaboration with Saudi Arabia, advanced global dialogue on sustainable industrial policies. At the country level, we supported Bangladesh's transition to a circular garment and textile industry and assisted Nigeria in promoting sustainable plastic value chains. Our capacity development initiatives have equipped policymakers from India, Indonesia, the Philippines, and Vietnam with the tools to navigate digitalization and the fourth industrial revolution, and from Latin America to mainstream gender in industrial innovation policy. Second, in our normative function, UNIDO has shaped industrial policies through evidence-based advice and international standards. For example, we released the Standards Compliance Analytics Report for Georgia and the 2024 Global Cleantech Innovation Index, assessing innovation policy mechanisms across several middle-income countries. Third, regarding partnerships, we hosted the inaugural AM Global Forum, launched a global matchmaking platform at COP29, and co-organized the Manila High-Level Middle-Income Conference, which produced the Makati Declaration, a collective commitment to overcome the middle-income trap. Fourth, technical cooperation remains a cornerstone of our work. As of May 2025, we are implementing over 420 national projects in middle-income countries. Highlights include decarbonization effort in Thailand, the successful West Africa Competitiveness Program benefiting over 48,000 Ghanaian SMEs, and new funding allocation for climate action and demonstration projects across Africa and Asia. We are also updating our regional program for Latin America and the Caribbean through a participatory process. And in Paraguay, we have supported circular economy initiative and certification for small enterprises. Finally, in the area of knowledge and skills development, UNIDO is strengthening knowledge and coordination functions. Our partnership with the University of Cambridge produced the Bridging the AI Divide report, and we continue to develop toolkits and policy resources to support evidence-based industrial policy design and South-South and triangular cooperation. Supporting middle-income countries is central to UNIDO's mandate and delivery. The strategic framework and updated work plan for middle-income countries reaffirmed in the Rabat and Makati declarations ensure that our support remains impactful, country-driven, and aligned with global development priorities. UNIDO's work in middle-income countries has had a tangible impact, from enabling women entrepreneurs to scale up agribusinesses, to advancing circular economy policies and reducing industrial emissions. We are committed to leaving no country behind in the global green transition. We are working to bring middle-income countries' industries to the forefront of the green transition. Thank you, Mr. Vice President.
I thank DDG Haidara for this introduction. I now have the pleasure to give the floor to the distinguished representative of Kenya to deliver the statement of the Group of 77 and China. The floor is yours, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President, and thank you, DDG Haidara, for your introductory remarks. The Group of 77 and China takes note of document IDB 53/20 on the report presented by the Director General on Inclusive and Sustainable Development in Middle-Income Countries. The group notes the work of UNIDO in the context of its strategic framework for partnering with MICs, which aims to address the specific and diverse industrial development needs of MICs. The group welcomes the high-level ministerial conference on MICs held in Rabat in February 2024 and in Manila in April 2025, takes note of the Rabat Declaration and the Makati Declaration, and encourages UNIDO to support the implementation of the recommendations contained in the declarations, bearing in mind the MIC's unique challenges and that 1 of 4 UNIDO member states are currently classified as MICs according to the World Bank. The group appreciates UNIDO's efforts in fostering partnerships and convening platforms such as the Multilateral Industrial Policy Forum, and notes that the second version of the forum, which was held in Saudi Arabia in October 2024, marked a significant advancement in global discussions on sustainable industrial development, and that the insights generated at the forum provide a valuable foundation for advancing sustainable industrial policies in MICs and globally. The group notes that MICs were assisted through UNIDO's various global, regional, and national TC projects, and as of May 2025, UNIDO continued to implement over 420 national TC projects in its MIC member states, and requests UNIDO to continue to incorporate issues related to the specific needs of MICs in its work plan, in addition to its focus on the industrial development of LDCs, LLDCs, and SEEDs. The group welcomes the ongoing update of the regional program for Latin America and the Caribbean in alignment with the MIC's strategic framework and directed by Decision IDB 52-7, and requests for the continued effort in resource mobilization for its implementation. Thank you, Mr. Vice President.
I thank the distinguished representative of Kenya. Now I give the floor to His Excellency, the permanent representative of Peru, to deliver the statement of GRULAC. The floor is yours, ma'am.
Muchas gracias.
Thank you very much, President. The group would like to highlight the ongoing need to improve results-based management of projects, programs, and activities of the organization in medium-income countries. We look forward to the development of the strategy and plans of action for middle-income countries in order to make progress on their inclusive and sustainable industrial development, continuing to exchange good practices, encouraging South-South and triangular cooperation, and strategic partnerships with the private sector. Middle-income countries are relevant actors in the global economy. They represent 3/4 of the global population, more than 60% of the total members of the organization, and they're facing particular and diverse challenges. Their development has a positive effect on global economic growth, economic and financial stability, the protection of the environment, and the increase in social well-being. Therefore, the significant reduction in official development assistance and in international cooperation means that the development agenda needs to be rethought, incorporating structural problems which a large number of these so-called middle-income countries are going through. In Latin America and the Caribbean region, while we've managed to improve the level of income, this is the most unequal region in the world, and we are far from achieving the SDGs. Against this backdrop, we'd like to highlight that during the 52nd session of the Industrial Development Board last November, UNIDO was requested to update the regional program for Latin America and the Caribbean, and was requested to resume activities aimed at finding and mobilizing financial resources to implement this program. The process of developing this program is currently underway. Its basis are the priority areas identified by countries in the high-level regional conference, SDG 9, Progress by Innovation in Latin America and the Caribbean, held in Panama in October of 2022. These include industrial policy, industrial decarbonization, digitization and innovation, the circular economy, the development of SMEs and employment, renewable energy and energy efficiency, as well as its plan of action, which was adopted at the regional conference in Bogota in March 2023. At the same time, this program needs to be aligned with the regional priorities and with the medium-term program framework 2026-2029. We look forward to having a final document in the next few months for its appropriate implementation. GRUDAC takes note of the significant increase in the mobilization of funds over recent years, including through the Global Environment Facility and the Multilateral Fund for the implementation of the Montreal Protocol, and efforts to expand partnerships and channels of financing. We recognise the work of the Secretariat headed up by the Director General of UNIDO, and we encourage them to reinforce these efforts in order to support the work prioritised by member states of Latin America and the Caribbean in order to continue to identify resources and partnerships with the private sector, academia, and traditional and non-traditional cooperating partners in order to implement the regional programme. We encourage donors to make contributions to the Trust Fund for Latin America and the Caribbean. We recall the commitment of the region of Latin America and the Caribbean to mobilise resources for this fund with the aim of implementing projects which the region identifies as priorities. We urge the Director General of the Office for Latin America and the Caribbean to redouble their efforts aimed at strengthening partnerships and synergies within the United Nations system, as well as to seek innovative sources of financing. President, the industrial sector is key to roll back poverty and inequality and contribute to the growth of middle-income countries, including those in the Latin American Caribbean region. UNIDO is a strategic partner to promote industrial, inclusive and sustainable industrial development and the fight against poverty. I thank you.
Muchas gracias, distinguida permanent.
I thank the distinguished permanent representative.
Floor to the distinguished representative of Belarus. The floor is yours, ma'am.
Thank you, President. The delegation of Belarus is grateful to the Director General for the report and for the briefing on this topic. We're gratified by UNIDO's efforts to strengthen cooperation in the area of the transformation of industrial systems in this category of countries in order to assist them in avoiding the so-called middle-income trap. For many years, Belarus has actively promoted the interest of middle-income countries in the frameworks of the UN system, and in particular in the activities of UNIDO, taking into account their specific and special role in ensuring sustainable industrial development. In 2013, in Minsk, there was a regional conference held on the issues of middle-income countries, and in 2015, there was an international conference held. Both events took place with the active participation of UNIDO, and they created a solid basis for further promotion of the interests of these countries. We highly appreciate the fact that UNIDO remains one of the few organizations of the UN system which is truly deeply involved in work with these countries, taking into account their specificities and needs and paying significant attention to this dimension. Today, when the MICs are facing new challenges and the global industrial development landscape continues to change, one thing we believe is important is to update the strategic framework for partnering with MICs. And it is for this reason that Belarus, at the current session of the IDB, has submitted a draft decision for consideration. We would request the Secretary of the UNIDO to update this document, taking into account the conclusions and recommendations that we heard at the International High-Level Conference on Middle-Income Countries, which took place in April in Manila. We're grateful for delegations for the constructive participation in consultations on this draft decision. And we hope that this decision will be adopted at this session. In conclusion, we would like to underscore our readiness to further actively work with member states and the Secretariat in order to ensure that the MIC's agenda is practically reflected in UNIDO projects and programs in the interest of sustainable industrial development. Thank you very much.
Спасибо, distinguished representative of Belarus. والآن أعطي الكلمة للسيد ممثل.
I give the floor now to the representative of the Kingdom of Morocco.
Merci.
Thank you very much, Vice President. My delegation aligns itself with the statements of the G77 and China and wishes to make the following additional comments in its national capacity. Vice President, my delegation welcomes the adoption last April in the Philippines of the Makati Declaration, which represents a milestone in terms of recognizing the specificities and structural vulnerabilities of middle-income countries. The Kingdom of Morocco reaffirms, moreover, its commitment to the Rabat Declaration of February 2024, which shed light on the need to move beyond purely economic metrics such as GDP per capita in order to better reflect the complexity and multidimensional nature of the challenges that middle-income countries face. Accordingly, my delegation calls for a tangible integration of the concept of development in transition as part of international cooperation policies. We fully support the appeal launched in Makati in support of predictable, accessible, and adapted financing for middle-income countries. And in this regard, the Kingdom of Morocco highlights the need to reform concessionary financing mechanisms, in particular by broadening the criteria of eligibility for climate funds and to sustainable development instruments. Here, Morocco underscores the need to further strengthen the resilience of middle-income countries in view of the multiple crises that exist, climate, health-based, or economic, and to consider digital transformation as a key driver promoting inclusive and sustainable development. My delegation underscores that a sustainable development approach must necessarily include the social dimension. Inclusion, reducing inequality, access to social protection, as well as empowerment of women lie at the heart of Morocco's national strategies and should equally be placed at the heart of the cooperation frameworks with middle-income countries. Morocco commends the efforts undertaken by the group of like-minded countries aimed at raising the collective voice of middle-income countries in multilateral fora, and we reaffirm our commitment to actively contributing to the implementation of the Strategic Action Plan 2025 to 2030. This plan must build on the priorities defined by the middle-income countries themselves, in full respect for the principles of sovereignty and national ownership. And finally, my delegation commends UNIDO for its efforts to promote partnerships and organizing platforms such as the Multilateral Forum on Industrial Policy. These are essential encounters to help develop sustainable industrial policies within middle-income countries and globally. Thank you very much.
أشكر السيد الموقر ممثل المملكة المغربية. And now I give the floor to the distinguished representative of Ecuador. The floor is yours, ma'am.
Gracias.
Thank you very much, Vice President. Ecuador takes note of the Director General's information regarding UNIDO's activities related to inclusive and sustainable development in middle-income countries, contained in document IDB 53/20, and echoes the calls made to UNIDO by the regional group G77 and CRULAC to continue incorporating the specific needs of middle-income countries in the plan of work and to work towards the review of the regional program for Latin America and the Caribbean. The challenges that the organization and member states of my region face is not only in terms of updating the regional program, Vice President, but rather it equally requires identifying and mobilizing financial resources as well as cooperation in order to implement the program, as has been attained for the other funds that UNIDO manages. In terms of good practices for productive inclusiveness, we would highlight the implementation of the municipal program known as Agrupar for urban agriculture, which links the themes of urban food security using biofertilizers and composting, demonstrating scalable social innovation for other medium-sized cities. This program involved 4,500 farmers, of which 80% were women, operating a total of 2,300 orchards. Finally, Vice President, given the needs for differentiated cooperation, we would request that the plan of work for middle-income countries include components of so-called blended finance for circular economy projects and for agri-processing, placing particular emphasis on micro and small, medium-sized enterprises and gender matters. Thank you, Vice President.
Muchas gracias.
Thank you very much, distinguished representative of Ecuador.
Now I give the floor to Her Excellency, the distinguished permanent representative of Thailand. The floor is yours, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. Thailand aligns itself with the statement of the Group of 77 in China and wishes to add the following remarks in its national capacity. Thailand commends UNIDO for its continued commitment to supporting the middle-income countries through its strategic frameworks and responsive programmatic work plan. We welcome the initiatives outlined by the Director General's report to tailor the technical cooperation, capacity building, and policy advice to the unique and evolving needs of the middle-income countries. The proposed approach will more effectively address their unique and evolving needs while acknowledging their diverse profiles yet share economic and environmental challenges. Mr. Vice President, Thailand supports UNIDO's efforts to promote circular economy through initiatives such as the switch to circular economy value chains and its work in sustainable plastic and textile value chains, which aligns with Thailand's bio-circular green economy model. We welcome UNIDO to expand its collaboration on innovation, clean tech demonstration projects, and quality infrastructure for SMEs, especially in food, agriculture, and bioindustries. Thailand emphasizes the importance of the access to the advanced low-carbon technologies and the best practices for achieving industrial decarbonization. We appreciate UNIDO and its funding partners for their continued support, especially through the decarbonization of the cement sector project under the UNIDO's Industrial Deep Decarbonization Initiative. This collaboration aligns closely with our Thailand 4.0 strategy and its commitment to the Paris Agreement. Thailand recognizes that initiatives such as the Global Alliance on the Artificial Intelligence for Industry and Manufacturing and capacity development programs on the digital industrial policies are crucial for enabling middle-income countries to achieve the high-value, innovation-driven growth and escaping the middle-income trap. We look forward to the continued cooperation with the UNIDO through this initiative to support Thailand in modernizing its manufacturing sector, enhancing competitiveness, and prepare its workforce with the skill needed for the fourth industrial revolution. In response to the ongoing global uncertainties and climate challenges, we urge UNIDO to further increase its support for middle-income countries by improving access to technical assistance and financing mechanisms. Furthermore, we encourage UNIDO to expand South-South and triangular cooperation as effective platforms for exchange experiences, scaling up the successful solutions, and maximizing resources. In closing, Thailand remains committed to partnering with UNIDO to achieve inclusive, resilient, and sustainable industrial development, both within our borders and across the middle-income countries' landscape. I thank you, Mr. Vice President.
I thank the distinguished permanent representative of Thailand. Now I give the floor to the distinguished representative of Namibia. The floor is yours, sir.
Thank you very much, Mr. Vice President. Namibia aligns itself with the statement delivered on behalf of the African Group and the Group of 77 in China on this agenda item and wishes to make the following additional remarks in its national capacity. Namibia appreciates UNIDO's strategic work plan for partnering with middle-income countries for inclusive and sustainable development, as well as through this strategic partnership framework. Namibia's classification as an upper middle-income country hinders access to most of the available funding opportunities, and appreciate UNIDO's work plan for partnering with middle-income countries, which could help change the status quo. Despite being classified upper middle-income country, Namibia continues to face serious challenges in all three dimensions of sustainable development, with constraints that prevent us from realizing poverty, eradication, inequality, service, external debt, and better deal with environmental vulnerabilities, among others. The classification does not consider the skewed income distribution and denies the country access to official development financing and concessional loans necessary for implementing national development programs and poverty alleviation initiatives. We wish to underscore that the graduation system based on a single indicator does not correctly reflect the realities of countries with different social and economic situations. Mr. Vice President, Namibia remains among the most unequal societies in the world, with deeply embedded structural problems resulting in extreme poverty affecting many of our people. And Namibia needs support in its efforts towards building a more inclusive society. Namibia welcomes UNIDO's collaboration with Hydrogen Europe and the development of global partnership for hydrogen application and the skill map for conducting a skill gap assessment in middle-income countries. In this connection, my delegation is grateful for the selection of Namibia amongst the first countries for this exercise. My delegation further recognizes the policy function toolkit to be deployed by the International Renewable Energy Agency and the German Institute of Development and Sustainability to help policymakers in designing a green hydrogen strategy, which focuses on both the production and the domestic offtake of green hydrogen. Namibia looks forward to cooperating with UNIDO in strengthening industrial human capacity to develop our enterprises. With these few remarks, we take note of the Director General's report on inclusive and sustainable industrial development in middle-income countries. Thank you.
I thank the distinguished representative of Namibia, and thanks for keeping your intervention within the 3 minutes time frame. We want to finish this agenda item, hopefully before the end of the morning session. Now I give the floor to the distinguished representative of Colombia. The floor is yours, ma'am.
Gracias.
Thank you very much, Vice President. Colombia aligns itself with the statements of GRULAC and the G77 and China, and in its national capacity would like to add the following. Colombia prizes the implementation of the strategic framework for middle-income country partnerships adopted through Resolution GC 18 Res 9, and underscores the need to strengthen its effective implementation through a differentiated approach towards countries in transition. We acknowledge UNIDO's contribution to reducing structural asymmetries through sustainable industrial policies and strengthening productive capacity, innovation, adding value, and equitable industrialization. Turning specifically to Latin America and the Caribbean, Colombia supports the updated regional program in keeping with paragraph 21 of document IDB 53/20 and appeals for this process to cover structural challenges such as debt, climate change, energy transition, and loss in biodiversity, as well as the priorities agreed upon at the regional conference in Bogota in 2023. Regarding paragraph 19, Colombia welcomes the joint UNIDO CEPAL initiative in order to promote industrial financing through South-South and triangular cooperation, which is in line with the country strategy to become a provider of cooperation and incentivizing the process of sustainable reindustrialization with territorial inclusiveness. We are of the view that the recommendations of the group of experts on debt, climate, and nature should be duly taken into account when designing sustainable industrial development programs for middle-income countries. Vice President, we highlight the role that UNIDO can play in mobilizing multilateral financial resources and in coordinating with non-traditional partners in order to support transformative industrial processes throughout the region, where the majority of the countries are middle-income countries. We support the further strengthening of the Trust Fund for Latin America and Caribbean and encourage donors to make active contributions towards the implementation of strategic projects that have been defined by the countries of the region. To conclude, I wish to recall what was stated by the Director General Müller in line with UNIDO's commitment and its mandate of creating opportunities and future prospects, and to continue forging new global partnerships, leading to beneficial situations for all. Thank you.
Muchas gracias.
Thank you very much, distinguished representative of Colombia.
Now I give the floor to Her Excellency, the distinguished permanent representative of Philippines. The floor is yours, Your Excellency.
Thank you very much, Mr. Vice President. The Philippines aligns itself with the statement of the G77 and China on the Director General's report on inclusive and sustainable development in middle-income countries and makes the following statement in our national capacity. We take note of the Director General's report highlighting UNIDO's strategic framework for partnering with MICs and its work plan, which guided its implementation of programs, projects, and initiatives in MICs. The report also highlights the Rabat Declaration adopted at the High-Level Ministerial Conference on MICs in Rabat in February 2024, and the Makati Declaration on Middle-Income Countries adopted at the High-Level Conference on MICs in Manila in April 2025, and how these declarations make reference to UNIDO's strategic framework. Mr. Vice President, we would like to thank UNIDO and DDG Fatu Haidara for partnering with the Philippines in organizing the HLC on MICs in Manila and for supporting the Makati Declaration, which represents a landmark achievement in advancing the global agenda for MICs. It built on the Rabat Declaration and includes the following. It calls for tailored international cooperation, innovative financial solutions, and policy support to address the challenges that still confront MICs, including poverty, inequality, vulnerability to climate change, and the risk of the middle income trap. The Makati Declaration underscores the vital role of MICs in achieving the Sustainable Development Goals. It calls for reforms in the international financial structure, improved access to climate finance and technology, and enhanced capacity building to help MICs overcome structural vulnerabilities and accelerate sustainable and inclusive development. It highlights the importance of science, technology, innovation, and digital transformation, as well as gender equality and decent work as key drivers for progress in MICs. The Makati Declaration provides a strong foundation for a future strategic program of action for MICs and informs the current review and update of UNIDO's strategic framework for partnering with MICs. Pursuing this synergy is very important to ensure a united and coordinated approach within the UN system to address the unique and complex challenges of MICs. We are pleased to highlight that the like-minded group of MICs chaired by the Philippines will co-organize a high-level side event with UNIDO entitled Industrialization in Middle-Income Countries, a driver of sustained economic growth and job creation, on the margins of the 2025 High-Level Political Forum at the UN Headquarters this month. We invite member states to inform their counterparts and delegates in New York and encourage them to take part in this HLPF side event. Finally, Mr. Vice President, we thank UNIDO for heeding the Philippines' request to convene a briefing or dialogue with member states focusing on updates on the implementation of its strategic framework for partnering with MICs and the proposed plan of action of its implementation in 2025 and the coming years. On Monday last week, the Secretariat, headed by DDG Haidara, conducted a member states briefing on UNIDO's cooperation with MICs, which presented an overview of the programs and services undertaken by UNIDO for the benefit of MICs and the future plans to implement its strategic framework. The Philippines looks forward to closer collaboration with UNIDO and the member states in working towards inclusive and sustainable development in MICs. Thank you very much, Mr. Vice President.
I thank Your Excellency, the distinguished representative of Philippines. Now I give the floor to the distinguished representative of Ghana. The floor is yours, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. Ghana fully aligns itself with the statement delivered by the Group of 77 in China and wishes to make the following brief remarks in its national capacity. Ghana takes note of document IDB.53/20 and commends UNIDO for its robust and evolving support to middle-income countries through policy advice, technical cooperation, innovation partnerships, and capacity development. We recognize the unique development challenges faced by MICs and applaud their strong efforts in driving inclusive, sustainable industrialization. UNIDO's strategic framework and initiatives such as the West Africa Competitiveness Program, which benefited thousands of enterprises in Ghana, underscore the critical role of MICs in advancing global industrial transformation. Mr. Vice President, we encourage UNIDO to continue enhancing its engagement with MICs, building on successful models, and scaling support that fosters resilience, innovation, and green growth across regions. Thank you.
I thank the distinguished representative of Ghana. Now I give the floor to the distinguished representative of Mexico. The floor is yours, sir.
Thank you very much, sir. Colega, me da mucho gusto verlo como...
Colleague, I'm very pleased to see you as Vice President of the session of the IDB. It is well deserved. I know that you work a great deal, work very hard for this organization, and it's always a pleasure to be able to count on your cooperation. Now, my delegation supports the statement delivered by the permanent representative of Peru on behalf of CRULAC, Ambassador Echeverria. At this session, document IDB 53/20 was presented, reporting on UNIDO's activities in middle-income countries, as well as the strategic approach that it has applied to cooperation with middle-income countries. However, unlike the report presented in 2024, there are very few references made to projects in the Latin American and Caribbean region. We believe that UNIDO must continue its work to further promote development based on the strategic framework of partnership with middle-income countries, and must avoid any geographic imbalances. We restate to the Industrial Development Board that the Secretariat must abide by its decision to establish the regional program for Latin America and the Caribbean, and identify resources that can be mobilized for projects under this regional program without affecting the resources that have been allocated to other regions. My delegation has taken note of the efforts undertaken by the Secretariat and the Director General throughout 2025 for the design and potential financing of the regional program for my region. And Mexico reiterates to the Secretariat and to the IDB that we sustain our readiness of lending our efforts, our constructive spirit in this area and in all those areas which are of benefit through inclusive, sustainable industrial development for all members. Thank you very much.
Presidente, porque está...
Thank you very much, Vice President.
Muchas gracias.
Thank you very much, distinguished representative of Mexico.
Spanish more than that. Thanks a lot for your kind words. Highly appreciate it. Now I give the floor to the distinguished permanent representative of Chile. The floor is yours, Your Excellency.
Shukran Jazilan Sidi Raiz. Me siento la obligación.
Thank you very much. I, of course, must now try to return that compliment by equally attempting to address you in your mother tongue. And thank you also for underscoring the importance of Spanish as a language for multilateralism and cooperation. We align ourselves with the statement delivered by the G77 and China and GRULAC, and in our national capacity wish to underscore the following. Industrialization is a key pillar, allowing middle-income countries to attain sustainable economic development. Chile and other countries in our category need to diversify our economies, moving away from dependency on specific sectors and promoting better balanced growth. Given the heterogeneity of realities of middle-income countries, we repeat the appeal to analyze and adopt a differentiated approach towards the challenges that our countries face in the process of graduation. This reality must be acknowledged and international cooperation and policies adapted accordingly based on a multidimensional perspective. While we welcome the ongoing updating of the regional program for Latin America and the Caribbean in keeping with what was established at the last session of the Industrial Development Board, the successful implementation will require the ongoing sustained mobilization of effective resources. Only this will ensure proper implementation and allow us to meet the significant challenge of progressing towards regional reindustrialization. This is all the more urgent in light of the alarming rise in unemployment in the industrial sector in the Latin American and Caribbean countries, and the signs of premature deindustrialization, which is evident in our region, and as indicated in UNIDO's IDP report of 2024. Vice President, the final document of the regional program for our region must address and resolve structural problems. The UNIDO 2024 report clearly identifies these obstacles as including, and I quote, high dependence on fossil fuels, economic inequalities, and an unskilled labor force. At the same time, our region faces low economic growth, limited innovation, and high levels of informal employment, which has a particular impact on vulnerable groups such as women. Against this backdrop, and in keeping with our feminist foreign policy, we prize initiatives such as the International Day of Women in Industry, which serves to help build bridges so as to ensure that this transformation is sustainable, inclusive, and with a gender perspective. Accordingly, we call on UNIDO to continue forging new partnerships as a tangible means of strengthening international cooperation for industrial, sustainable, and inclusive development. Exchanging good practices is equally an invaluable tool to facilitate our progress towards the Sustainable Development Goals. 35 years on from the ratification of the Montreal Protocol, Chile has promoted more than 110 projects focusing on limiting ozone-depleting substances through our cooperation with various international agencies, including UNIDO. And here, we welcome the allocation of further resources for the Multilateral Fund for the application of the Montreal Protocol. To conclude, we take note of the progress achieved at the latest visit of UNIDO to Santiago and underscores the urgent need for a renewed approach towards industrial policies and productive development, the importance of which becomes clearer day by day. Thank you.
Muchas gracias, distinguidor.
Thank you very much, distinguished representative of Chile.
The floor to the distinguished representative of Kyrgyzstan. The floor is yours, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. Allow me to extend my warmest congratulations to you and to wish you every success in your leadership, in your work. On behalf of the Kyrgyz Republic, I congratulate Mr. Gerd Müller on reappointment as Director General for a second term and wish you continued energy and productive work. This decision reflects the high regard of all members states for your dedicated, strategically sound and effective leadership. The Kyrgyz Republic recognizes the constructive and innovative nature of UNIDO's work, as well as organization's firm commitment to the principles of sustainable development. We support the report as a whole, including submitted under agenda item 11, inclusive and sustainable development in middle-income countries. We support the approaches and cooperation plan outlined in the report, which we see as a solid foundation for the future development of a strategic action program for middle-income countries. These measures are relevant for the Kyrgyz Republic, which has adopted the National Development Program until 2030, with sustainable industrial development being one of its key priorities. The Kyrgyz Republic supports the expansion of cooperation with UNIDO in the technical, policy, and legal dimensions of sustainable industrial development. We greatly value UNIDO's effort in strengthening industrial development, governance, and facilitating the development of industrial policies in member countries. The report also highlights that our 420 different technical cooperation projects were successfully implemented by UNIDO's in middle-income countries over the past year. Undoubtedly, the vast experience gained through these projects can serve as a strong basis for scaling up and sharing best practices with other countries. Mr. Vice President, Mr. Director General, let me take this opportunity to express our sincere gratitude to you and the entire UNIDO team for your cooperation in developing the country partnership program between UNIDO and Kyrgyz Republic. The PCP is aimed at enhancing the country's industrial capacity, strengthening its productive capital, fostering an innovative and competitive business ecosystem, and promoting green and low carbon growth. The program is scheduled to be signed in the coming days and will soon be launched. In this regard, we invite interested parties to join us in its implementation. In conclusion, we are confident that your joint efforts within the framework of UNIDO will contribute to the achievement of our common goal, sustainable development worldwide. Thank you.
I thank you, Your Excellency, the distinguished permanent representative of Kyrgyzstan. I would like to thank our interpreters for giving us a couple of minutes to conclude this agenda item. I now give the floor to Her Excellency DDG Haidara if she has comments on the discussion during the consideration of this item. Your Excellency.
Thank you very much, Mr. Vice President. I will go quickly to first thank the member states for their active engagement, their insights, and continued partnership with UNIDO in our effort to transform the middle-income countries as engine of growth, sustainability, and opportunity. I would like also to give the assurance that UNIDO regularly update its work plan for partnering with middle-income countries, and will do exactly the same with the strategic framework. This to ensure that your feedback is taken on board, to also ensure relevance and effectiveness. These updates will be conducted through regular reviews, including alignment with the medium-term program framework, MTPF, and also to take on board the process from member states, Rabat Declaration and the Makati Declaration. We are looking forward to a successful event in New York. And I would also like to assure the representative of Mexico that if my introduction was in balance, we do have concrete examples in Latin America. I can give the example of the SDG 9 accelerator. Ludmila recently also presented the program for Latin America, which is very promising. So we make sure that going forward, all regions will benefit from UNIDO's technical cooperation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, DDG Haidara. If there are no further requests for the floor, we will now adjourn the debate on agenda item 11 and will return to this item in the session, later in the session, solely for the purpose of adopting any decision. We have now reached the end of this morning plenary. We shall resume with the consideration of the next item on our agenda this afternoon at 3:30 p.m. sharp in this room. The second meeting of the informal consultation will begin at 12:30 p.m. in conference room C3 on the 7th floor. The meeting is adjourned. Thank you.